So what's going on YouTube? Excited to have in front of you a Sig Sauer P320 X5 that one of the kind gentlemen at Georgia Firing Line lent to me. It is mostly stock. I know he modified it by having the gunsmiths at Firing Line do a stipple job, and the front sight was swapped out for a Dawson, more to Sean's liking. So we've got the plastic framed variant of the Sig Sauer competition gun. So it's kind of a rare bird right now. There's not many of them floating around out there, but it's pretty cool. And in shooting it, I was surprised. I actually like it for a plastic gun. I was nearly as good as my CZs with it, but just to kind of give you some of the features, it's trying to be a do-all competition gun. So in its stock configuration, it's coming with a sight that is actually a plate that will receive an optic. So if you want to shoot carry optics or fit it with a red dot, you'll have that capability. It's got a fully adjustable rear sight, and that's important for sighting in your competition ammo. Almost nobody sights in their competition guns, and that's really obvious out at about 15 to 20 yards if you're shooting at mini poppers. So sight in your carry guns, sight in your competition guns, just do it. You can't shoot 147 grain bullets on most fixed sight guns without missing high by a couple inches. So if you're going to shoot 147s, swap your front sight height so that they hit point of impact, because they're probably not if you haven't done that already. Anyway, getting off my high horse. It comes with a mag well, so this would be legal for IDPA ESP or limited minor or 3-gun with the mag well on. It comes off right there. If you unscrew the Allen key, it'll come off. There is a sleeve of some kind. I don't know if you can see that in there, but in the grip there is a steel insert that adds a little bit of weight to the frame. All in all, it's a pretty well balanced pistol. I can't comment on the stock grip texture because it's been stippled, and this stippling basically resembles almost like a one of the STI 2011 type frames is about what this feels like. The controls are fully ambidextrous, which is a nice touch for you southpaws, except for the takedown lever, which is right there. The mag release is swappable, but as far as the controls, they're exactly where you need them. Thumb can rest right there on the slide release, can reach the mag release with no problems there. There's enough real estate to build a good firing grip, no problems. The bore or the sight radius is pretty long. However, the bore axis is pretty high, which was surprising. The ergonomics are pretty good. I'll dock some points because I wish it was thinner right here and through here, because the actual grip is a little bit thinner, and when you come up around there, I just don't quite like how it forces me around this area. I understand why it's there due to the chassis that sits in the frame. It needs that space, similar to a Glock, but there it is. It comes with 4 magazines, which is a good value, but this is actually kind of weird. These are illegal for production division. They would be legal for carry optics or 3-gun out of the box. And I tried to see if maybe this was just a +2 mag extension, but it's not. You can see the witness holes go down to there. The body goes all the way down to the base plate. Like, the base plate is actually very thin. It comes all the way down. So this mag tube is too long to fit in production division. So if you're planning on shooting this in production or IDPA, you're going to be on the hook for some new magazines, because these will not be legal out of the box. Magazines are high quality. They're made in Italy, so I'm betting that they're mech guard. If you want to take down the magazines, you just press on that pin there, slide off the base plate. Base plate comes off, spring and lock plate come off. The follower is already pretty short, and there you have it. So the follower is already pretty short, so there's probably not much you could do with like a Graham's spring and follower kit to get another couple rounds in there. 21 is a good capacity. It's a couple rounds shy of what people are getting in some of the other models in the carry optics divisions that generally are 22 or 23 +1. Whoa! So anyway, that's what happens when you launch a mag spring. I'll get that later and put it back together. Sorry, Sean. The gun itself takes down pretty easily. I'm actually kind of liking the way it is. So, first of all, the one thing we didn't touch on is the cocking serration. So they're not very aggressive. The ones at the front actually do work if you run your hand over the slide like a competition shooter should, or anybody who wants to run the slide. They actually work just fine for that, but they could stand to be a little more aggressive. The slide has been lightened right there. They've rounded off this edge to take some weight off, almost like a tri-top as well. So it's actually ridiculously soft shooting, but we'll get into that in a second. As far as takedown is concerned, it's just like the other P320s, lock it to the rear. Then you're gonna manhandle this little lever down. I had issues with it because it's new. There it goes. Slide comes right off. The frame is pretty nice, chassis is pretty nice, everything is pretty nice. Has a flat face trigger, which is pretty nice. The feature that I really like about the gun that many people probably won't is it has a steel guide rod with a non-captured recoil spring. That's handy for tuning the recoil impulse to the particular load that you happen to be shooting. So if you want the slide to cycle faster, you can increase the weight of the recoil spring, and if you want it to cycle a little bit slower, slow it down, make it soft so the muzzle doesn't dip as much when the slide closes. You have that option available, so you just put it back on there, back down, and there we are. The barrel is a heavy barrel, so I'm surprised that honestly that IDPA blessed it for use in IDPA, but there it is. It's got a full Picatinny rail, so if you want to mount all the things that you want to mount on it, that option is available to you as well. So the trigger, as I mentioned, it's okay. I mean, for a production gun out of the box, it's not bad. So there's a itty bitty bit of take up there. I'm sitting on the wall. Then there's some sproing and it releases the striker, and now it'll click every time. Then that is not a restrike. As far as reset is concerned, it's kind of long and pretty weak. So let's see, I'll show you with this finger. So I'm letting it out. Okay, the trigger is reset now. There was no click or anything like that, but it's ready to go again. That is honestly not a concern. I didn't even notice it when I was shooting it. Granted, I didn't do much shooting. I've only shot about 50 rounds through it. So how does it shoot? Well, let's talk about that. So when I was at the range, I warmed up with my CZ75 I happen to have with me. Did a little bit of group shooting. You can see I was kind of grouping around here and I broke my wrists up and had about a flyer. This is at 15 yards. So that was my best of 3 attempts at 15 yards. The X5 out of the box, my best attempt out of 3 at 15 yards was there. And that's maybe 2.5 inches or so for 15 yards. And these are like rounds 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 I put through the gun. So I didn't even dry fire the trigger. I was crunched for time, so I just slung some lead down range and kind of went for it. So that turned out pretty well. Also had a chance, the buddy lent me a holster for it as well, so I got to go from the holster. So I shoot the Ben Steger Dots drill. So from concealment with a 5-second par time, I warmed up with the 75, that's what I was able to do. So if you're not familiar with the drill, you shoot between 2 and 6 shots depending where you are, at 15 or 21 or 30 feet depending if you're using a dot or not. I'm at 15 right now. So with the 75 you can see the point is to clear the exercise. All the shots need to be inside the dots or have the grease rings touching the exterior line just like USPSA. So I managed to have a bad hold up here and I threw 3 there. And I jerked 1 shot low on the first dot, and that was cold. So that said, Mr. X5, I came in having just shot those groups with it, so rounds 26 through 49 or whatever right here on this page, and I was actually surprised I did as well as I did, having never spent any time on the trigger or anything like that. All of the misses except for that one, and really kind of that one, maybe that one, were kind of acceptable. I think it, obviously with more exposure to the pistol I would improve, but you can see a clover leaf right there, so that was good. And as a control, when I actually got into my practice in earnest, there's the shadow, and you can see it's kind of consistent with what we had on the 75. But I mean, that's 4 shots right there. I ended up jerking a couple shots low there, jerked a shot low there. That one actually barely touches, so it's in, but this is basically 3 shots out. So I'm pretty close to being able to clean these dots, and I'll go to 5 shots in a 5-second par time. So the gun performs very well. It is very, very soft shooting. It reminds me of shooting a Ruger SR22 with my 131 power factor 9 minor loads with SNS projectiles and Prima V powder. But all in all, I like the gun. I think it's a good gun. It's a good choice. It's kind of a dual pistol. I think the magazines is kind of an added expense, so the gun retails for like $850 if you can find it. But you're already on the hook for some more expensive magazines if you want to play in production or IDPA. So the one thing I don't like about this pistol is this is what it looks like when you have a pencil in the barrel and you fire it. That's pretty good. Okay, that's great. Reset the striker. Now you'll notice that the slide is very slightly out of battery, maybe a 1/16 of an inch out of battery. It's stuck, kind of like a tuned Glock with an over travel adjustment spring. So it is out of battery right now, and it will launch the pencil. See that? So it's releasing the striker and hitting the, let's see if I can actually get it to, so there you go. So it was out of battery there, and it still launched the pencil, which means that the firing pin would be striking a primer with enough force to detonate it. So that's an out of battery detonation. For those of you guys who aren't a nerd and into the weeds with what that means is the barrel and the slide lock up. You hear the turn, it locks up tight and all this kind of stuff. And what that means is the barrel is machined in such a way that it has a male-female relationship with the slide. This creates the chamber. When the primer ignites and sparks the gunpowder, it creates an explosion. The explosion travels down the path of least resistance, and generally that's going to be pushing the projectile down the barrel. Once the explosion kind of gets started, the barrel will unlock from the slide using the Browning tilt lock, go to the rear. The extractor will keep a claw on the case and run it back into the ejector, which is going to knock the case out to the rear. Slide comes forward, strips another cartridge into the chamber, and the cycle repeats. So if it's out of battery, the path of least resistance very well may be out the side of the ejection port down into the frame of the gun as the barrel unlocks. It doesn't look like, with how it is right now, that the barrel has unlocked at all. It looks, when it's right there, it looks like it is still locked up. But if it is out of battery, and you can watch it as I pull the trigger, you can see the whole slide move. That's concerning. So I really hope Sig gets that figured out. I don't know what's causing that. A lot of people are like, well, it's only going to do that if you cycle it by hand. Well, yes and no. If you've got like some kind of grip and your thumb's up on the slide and you're pressing into the slide with both hands potentially, and people actually do that to the point where you would retard the slide velocity enough to where you could get it to stick out of battery, then that could be a problem. So they need to get that addressed, and I think they're going to have a real winner on their hands. So at the price point that this retails for, it's basically the same as a baseline Shadow, which comes with 3 mags. The trigger is going to be similar, except for it's a double action versus a striker action, and it can only play in one division. This can play in pretty much any of the divisions, but again, magazines. Would I rather have this than a Glock 34? The Glock 34 honestly costs about the same as this gun once you adjust for the fully adjustable sights. Glock 34's fully adjustable sights are trash out of the box. So if you slap some Dawsons on it, you're on the hook for another 100, 120 bucks. And so that really kind of puts you in the same ballpark of nearly $800, same as the X5 here. You add in another magazine and you're literally right there, value for value. And I guess you could get the MOS Glock, and I mean you're within spitting distance of each other at that point. So I mean, there's a lot of value going on for this. Would I rather have this or a Glock? I live in Atlanta, so I'd rather have a Glock, just because Glock takes care of you, and any springs wear out, they'll replace for you, and it's not a big deal. Would I rather have this or a Core M&P? I'd much rather have this. Same goes for probably the FNS. Same goes for any of the other plastic game guns. The Walter Q5, I could go kind of either way. probably would go for this just because it does give me more options, and comes with a magwell. It's actually an aluminum magwell, which is pretty cool. So the module is swappable. You can get different grip modules, so you can go nuts on stippling and stuff like that and not have to be stuck with it forever, because it's not a big expense to get another frame. So if you've watched it this far, please go ahead and hit the like button. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't. Check out some of my other videos. Talk a lot about CZs, all that good stuff, and see you out on the range.